Hey guys, Jack and welcome back. And with the last game week before Christmas, we have a few teams that could potentially extend their lead as Man City are away at the Club World Cup. Let's jump into it. Liverpool versus Arsenal is the biggest game of the weekend, and there's a reason why both teams are in the top two, with Arsenal only ahead with just a point. And they've had the week rest, while Liverpool got a really good result against West Ham to put them through to the League Cup semi-final. And the way they played last night, despite rotating quite a bit, you saw what they're capable of doing. Sure, West Ham defended reasonably well in the first half, but after a couple of goals and the game opened up, they started to create, and that was courtesy of the likes of Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, and Cody Gakpo, who had good games. But I think it's going to be a bit difficult for them. We've seen how street smart Arsenal become this season, and if you saw the match at the weekend, Declan Rice was immense, and I think he's going to have play a crucial role here. And that's because Liverpool don't really have the midfield strength. Endo is very industrious, while the likes of Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones, while they are very capable, they're not going to fight in midfield. And I feel the likes of Odegaard will be able to do that, and Kai Havertz, who can be very physical when he needs to be. And the fact that Liverpool don't have McAllister, that's going to be really challenging for them. And I don't know what to expect from this. I really do imagine, with the extra few days off and with how Arteta is able to set up, I think he'll have the upper hand here tactically. And we saw what Jurgen Klopp said after the match, that they didn't have the crowd kind of rile up after their match against Man United at Anfield. And I think that could be similar here. They're going to be at Anfield again, but it's a huge bold call for Klopp to make about his supporters, and I think they really need to figure something out, because they have been poor recently, not in relative to how Liverpool typically play, but they up until last night they weren't looking that promising. I mean, United didn't have concede a big chance against them, and I think that's going to be crucial here. I would imagine Salah would be glad to get a goal last night, but if Arsenal are going to get a result from this game, they really need to keep him quiet. So if he's out on the left hand side, I presume Zinchenko will have to be rested. So maybe Kiwi or if Tomiyasu returns from injury, maybe he'll feature out there. I say it's going to be challenging, but I think Arsenal have a lot to fight for. For me, I think this could be a really interesting game, and I think just based off what I've seen and the injuries that both teams have, I think Arsenal are going to come out with this with a 2-1 win. Everton unfortunately crashed out of the League Cup quarterfinal on penalties, while Spurs had a rest, and I think that's probably been crucial for them, having to spend a week to prepare against Sean Dyche, and Ange Postecoglou would more than likely have something prepared, especially after losing the likes of Yves Bissouma and Destiny Udogie through suspension, and losing Bissouma until end of January is going to be a huge thing. So I can imagine the likes of Skip having to step in that role. Regarding this game, I think it's going to be very difficult for Spurs to keep a clean sheet. Honestly, we've seen how incredible Sean Dyche is, and I say he's quite relieved to be out of the League's Cup, being able to focus crucially on surviving relegation and up until the FA Cup begins. And at that stage, they're hoping that they're just comfortably sitting away from those spots. We've seen the likes of Decore seem to have a revelation in kind of a centre attacking mid role, while Harrison and McNeil have been incredible for Everton, and it looks like they're set to get Branthwaite back after he was injured or suspended last week. I think it's going to be very difficult for Spurs to do, to kind of have a comfortable performance. But we've seen how Kulusevski has adopted to the James Maddison role, and he's been incredible this season, probably one of their players of the season. And we've seen Heung-min Son back out on the left-hand side, where he's been tearing up defences. So I can imagine either Seamus Coleman, who could be back from injury, or Nathan Patterson will have a difficult time there. And Richarlison is a capable striker, and he seems to be coming back into form. And because of all these factors, I think it could be a big game, a high-scoring game. So I'm going to go with a 3-2 win to Spurs. Like I said, West Ham were trounced by Liverpool 5-1, and despite rotating a few players, they still had a lot of key players that we saw: Edson Alvarez, Mohamed Kudus, and Jarrett Bowen starting. And I think that might play a role here. We see how United have set up quite defensively against Liverpool, and I wonder if that's going to capitalise and help them pick up form. Ten Hag has been struggling a lot, but they still haven't been, totally, horrible. And we see how vulnerable this West Ham side can be. And if they're tired after this midweek, I can imagine that it's going to be difficult for them, especially given the result that they, received. Like, I mean, that, like, it was a couple of goals, I'd understand if they just kind of able to move on from it, but conceding 5 against this Liverpool side, it just wasn't great. Rotated Liverpool side, and I think that's going to be crucial here. Ten Hag has had the week to prepare his players. Seeing Anthony seems to be, he suits the Ten Hag role. Garnacho can have moments, and Rasmus Højlund, I feel like this could be the time he finally gets his first Premier League goal. They just need to ensure that they play the similar style, and maybe it looks like that Kobe Mainu and Amrabat, who were like, I didn't say it in the video, but they were incredible against Liverpool and kind of ensuring that they never got a clear chance. And I think they're going to be crucial now in this game, especially with Casemiro still out. And with all that, I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to Man United. Unfortunately, Steve Cooper's gone, and while I am disappointed to say that Nuno isn't the most inspiring signing, he should shore up the defence. But I think having how he ended up losing his gig at Al Etihad, I think if there's big enough egos in the side, he might not last the time there. And just saying Steve Cooper, he'll probably get a good Premier League role in the coming months. Regarding this fixture, I just don't think they're going to get the new manager bounce. Bournemouth have been in superb form recently, and I think it's going to result in a 2-0 loss for Nottingham Forest. Unfortunately, I left the A23 derby quite late on this video, but it's going to be an interesting tie. Obviously, Crystal Palace got a huge result against Man City, but they've typically been their bogey team, while Brighton will be looking to kind of rescue a bit of their form. They still struggled a lot and been very patchy in terms of their form, and I think they're going to rescue it here. I don't think it's going to be an easy time for them because we've seen how Crystal Palace can operate against these high possession teams, and I think it'll be crucial for the likes of Mateta, either maybe Edouard and Olise will need to be crucial to create chances for them. But because of how the game is and how Brighton can be and just how well they performed last week, I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to Brighton, and they will get the bragging rights of the A23. Unfortunately, I don't think Chris Wilder is going to inspire his side away at Villa Park. Unai Emery has them playing incredibly well, and I think it's going to be a comprehensive 3-0 win, and I believe Ollie Watkins will get a couple of goals here. Fulham have rescued their form recently, and they have made it into their first League Cup semi-final of their club's history, I believe. And I'd say that's going to do them really well, and they're going to be going to this game with a lot of hope. I think it's going to be difficult for them to score as many goals as they probably would want to against Burnley, despite them having a poor defensive record. Burnley, again, as I said before, have struggled defending, especially as a unit. And I think Fulham will have the opportunities here. We see, maybe the likes of Depp Cordoba-Reid, Andres Pereira, Harry Wilson, a lot of talent going forward. I feel like it'll be a difficult game just in terms of breaking them down, and because they're still missing Rafa Jimenez due to suspension, I think it's just going to be quite a comfortable 1-0 win to Fulham. Newcastle suffered huge disappointment having lost the League Cup quarter-final to Chelsea in penalties, and they looked like they could potentially lose Anthony Gordon for a couple of weeks due to an injury. That was definitely a red card offence by Moises Caicedo. But they've seen the likes of Longstaff and Dan Burn back, but they just look very toothless going forward, and I think that might result in what might happen here. And I think with how Luton can play, and I say there's going to be a bit of a fight back or kind of like an inspired performance by Rob Edwards and his side, for just still the big news of Tom Lockyer's cardiac arrest. I say they're going to be inspired to do something here, and I don't know why. I thought it was going to be a draw initially, but just part of me feels like it's going to be a 1-0 win to Luton. Wolves versus Chelsea will be on Christmas Eve, and I think it could be an interesting tie. While Chelsea got a big win in the League Cup quarter-final, they just couldn't create chances. They had so much of the ball, but they just couldn't create, despite Newcastle looking very poor in the back, going forward. We saw how Nkunku was able to add a bit of dynamism and movement to their front line, and I think he's going to be crucial of them getting something from this game. I think Wolves have been in poor form recently, and Gary O'Neill has started to come back into some criticism, but he's still struggling with injuries, fitness, and most crucially, just the results of VAR and referee calls. It just seems like it's always gone against them, and I just keep hoping that at some stage during the season it'll all balance out in the end. I think this is going to be a difficult tie for Chelsea because Wolves can be very disciplined, and I think that could be resulting in something here where they're going to drop points. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing a video in the next couple of days just previewing the next game fixtures, Boxing Day and such. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you tune in for that. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care.